She was once hailed as the next Serena across America, turning pro at 14, storming into the top 100 rankings by age 17. But everything changed when a wrist injury dimmed the brilliance Madison Keys once promised. She'd rise to the top 10 only to slip away, reach a Grand Slam final only to stumble just shy of triumph. To onlookers, the murmur was constant. She's got the talent, so why can't she deliver? But inside her mind, she wrestled endlessly with soaring expectations, unrelenting pressure, and the echo of self-doubt after each painful defeat. And then, from the depths of that emotional fog, Keys erupted at the 2025 Australian Open. She took down both the world #1 and #2 with fire, capturing a huge title and shaking the sport to its core. She didn't stop there. She launched Kindness Wins, spreading empathy to children and even sharing her mental toughness with fellow athletes. So how did Madison Keys, once nearly broken by pressure, not only conquer tennis but also amass a multi-million-dollar empire? Let's uncover the remarkable journey of the toughest woman in tennis today, Madison Keys. The turning point, Venus Williams' white dress. Madison Keys entered the world on February 17, 1909 in the quiet Midwestern town of Rock Island, Illinois. She grew up as the second child in a close-knit family of 4 daughters. Her dad, Rick Keys, once played college basketball before transitioning into a successful law career. Her mother, Christine, also practiced law, focusing her sharp mind on the financial side of things. In a home driven by academics and legal debate, the idea of a daughter turning athlete seemed like a faraway dream until a quirky and unforgettable moment changed everything. At only 4 years old, Madison happened to catch Wimbledon on the television screen. She wasn't drawn in by the fierce rallies or the championship tension. What mesmerized her was something unexpected: Venus Williams' elegant white dress. The next morning, she begged her parents for a dress just like the one she saw on TV. Her father agreed, but with a catch: if we get the dress, you've got to try tennis. That simple deal turned into the defining spark of a lifelong journey for the little girl from Rock Island. Madison began hitting balls at the nearby Quad City Tennis Club, just minutes from home. At that age, nobody expected much from a toddler whose love started with clothing. But then came a surprise: her strokes had unusual force for someone that small. A local coach, taken aback, commented, "There's something different in that forehand." Before long, the Keys family understood that this wasn't just a childhood phase. When Madison turned 10, the family made a bold and selfless decision. Her mom and 2 younger sisters packed up and moved to Boca Raton, Florida, to support her dream. She enrolled at the prestigious Everett Tennis Academy, known for molding American champions. Meanwhile, her father stayed behind in Illinois, holding down work while living apart from his girls. That sacrifice underscored how serious they were, even before Madison knew how far tennis would take her. At Everett, she trained daily with some of the most promising players in the country. Though she didn't always take home trophies, she had something others noticed immediately. Her shots exploded off the racket with a velocity that turned heads. But with that gift came burdens. Being different meant standing out, sometimes painfully so. As one of the few players of color, she wrestled with solitude, homesickness, and the pressure to belong. At 12, her progress took a giant leap forward. She captured the Junior Orange Bowl title, one of the crown jewels in youth tennis. The very next year, at just 13, she triumphed at Costa Rica's Copa del Cafe, a rare feat for an American. Those wins came not just from strength, but from hours of work few ever saw. Behind every highlight was a quiet routine of sweat, repetition, and even tears. On her 14th birthday, Madison signed the paperwork to become a professional athlete. Just weeks into that chapter, she stunned the tennis world by defeating world number 81, Alla Kudryavtseva. The match took place at the WTA event in Ponte Vedra Beach, marking her as a rising star. To experts, it felt like a bolt from the blue. But to those who watched her grow, it was the natural outcome of a turbulent and determined path. It all started with a white dress that shimmered on a TV screen. From that whimsical moment, Madison carved her own legacy in American tennis. She didn't just play, she made herself a lasting figure in the story of the sport. The heiress to Serena Williams and the psychological obsession. At only 14, Madison Keys entered the pro circuit with a headline-making win over the world's number 81. In that electrifying moment, many believed America had found the next Serena Williams. With a blistering forehand and a commanding serve, she appeared poised for tennis stardom. It seemed the stage was set for a dazzling rise that would grip the world. But once the early praise faded, reality took over. For years that followed, Madison wrestled with nagging injuries and the weight of expectations. Her career showed sparks of brilliance, but often fell into uneven stretches. Devoted fans still clung to hope, yet the question lingered: can she truly make it? Her journey turned into a puzzle that even seasoned observers struggled to solve. Still, Madison refused to walk away. Step by step, she sharpened her skills and grew tougher under pressure. In 2015, she stormed into the Australian Open semifinals, a breakthrough on the big stage. 1 year later, she cracked the top 10 in the world rankings. Then came the 2017 U.S. Open final, where she faced her good friend Sloane Stephens, though she fell short that day. Madison had proven she could stand with the best. Yet the years that followed were anything but easy. Injuries returned, and she even slipped outside the top 50 at one point. Rather than forcing herself to push through, she made a bold choice: therapy. Madison spoke candidly about burnout, about losing her love for the game, and in releasing those expectations, she began to rediscover joy in tennis once more. Then came the unthinkable at 30, with few betting on her. She did the impossible. Madison Keys won the 2025 Australian Open, a full decade after her early promise. She triumphed not only with power, but with patience, grit, and mental strength. Now ranked back among the world's elite, she holds 10 WTA trophies to her name. But more than that, she's admired for her willingness to lift others with her story. Her nonprofit, Kindness Wins, empowers teens to face pressure with confidence. She also began openly mentoring younger players on the once taboo topic of mental health. Madison doesn't seek the spotlight or dazzle with theatrics on or off the court. Her life remains largely private, defined more by grace than by spectacle. But the arc of her story, from setbacks to healing, is deeply human and inspiring. For Madison, success now means staying honest, grounded, and full of quiet strength. $1 million fortune and a life of understated luxury, Madison Keys has never been one to parade her wealth for the cameras. Despite more than 10 years on tour, major titles under her belt, and top-tier earnings among U.S. female athletes, she carries herself with a familiar grace and reserve on court and off. But don't confuse her quiet lifestyle with a lack of success or ambition. Because when you mention Madison Keys in 225, you're referring to a symbol of subtle elegance, where sophistication speaks without ever raising its voice. As of early 2025, Keys has earned over $22 million from her professional career. Just her win at the 2025 Australian Open added close to $2.2 million to that impressive total. That paycheck alone strengthens her standing as one of America's top earners in tennis history. Yet prize money is just one part of her growing financial empire. Thanks to her uplifting image and polished professionalism, brands like Nike, Wilson, Evian, and Orange Theory Fitness have supported her for years. They stick with her not only because of name recognition, but also because she embodies their deeper values. While many athletes flash their riches for attention, Madison channels hers into well-being and comfort. Her main home sits in an upscale neighborhood near Orlando, Florida, a sprawling estate measuring nearly 9,700 square feet, set on more than an acre. The property includes serene gardens, a man-made lake, and a private spa corner. She redesigned the entire house in a modern farmhouse style, a harmony of rustic charm and sleek design. Inside, every room is a reflection of her taste: a classic library with a limestone hearth, a chef's kitchen with European flair, and a custom training studio with Nike-fitted recovery gear. But she hasn't stopped with just one address. Her real estate vision extends to 2 major U.S. cities. In Miami, she enjoys a sleek penthouse where she unwinds during summer months. The condo has sweeping ocean views, interiors crafted by a famed Italian design house, and shimmering gold leaf accents. There's also the apartment in Tribeca, New York, a more minimalist but equally valuable property. One Italian leather sofa in that home's living room alone is worth close to $100,000 to Madison. These spaces aren't for show, they're sanctuaries she's curated for different seasons of her life. As for vehicles, she's not one to amass flashy sports cars like some of her peers. Her beloved Volvo S60, awarded to her at the 2019 Volvo Car Open, is still part of her daily rotation. It reminds her of those early, hard-earned victories that shaped her confidence. These days, a 2024 Range Rover autobiography, LWB, often rests in her garage. It features plush business-class seating, a premium Meridian sound system, and versatile off-road capability on occasion. Fans spot her arriving in the unmistakable silhouette of a Mercedes-Benz G-Class AMG, an elite SUV known for mixing force with quiet luxury. For Madison, her greatest investments aren't for applause, but for peace of mind. That philosophy is clearest in her nonprofit, Kindness Wins, which she co-founded and personally funds. Rather than splurge on jewels or extravagant timepieces, she devotes much of her income to mental wellness initiatives for teens. She doesn't make grand announcements about it, nor does she chase headlines, but in philanthropic circles, she's quietly earned the nickname the Silent Queen for her unwavering commitment. In the end, Madison Keys' fortune can't be measured by bank balances or high-end property lists. Its true weight lies in her ability to design a life filled with thoughtfulness and purpose, not because of price tags, but because each choice fits her soul and her journey. In a culture where wealth often screams, Madison's elegance whispers, and that makes all the difference. Serene Love amidst constant travel, in the high-speed world of pro sports racing through matches, rankings, and press duties. Madison Keys chooses a love life that's calm and unhurried. She first crossed paths with Bjorn Fratangelo, another American player, back in 2017 while both were training in Florida. Their romance stayed low-key, rarely drawing headlines, and skipped the usual fanfare of celebrity couples. Together, they seem more like lifelong companions sharing workouts, meals, and heart-to-hearts after wins or crushing losses. Bjorn had once shown great potential, but injuries pushed him out of the spotlight. He never became a tennis icon. But he stood by Madison's side with unwavering quiet strength. In time, they made a home in Orlando, raising dogs, fixing up their space, and enjoying life beyond the courts. Then in March 2023, after 6 steady years, Bjorn asked Madison to marry him. She accepted with the same grace that had marked their journey from the beginning. Their wedding was held on November 23, 2024, at a peaceful resort in Kiowa River, South Carolina. No paparazzi, no flashbulbs, just a warm gathering of friends, many from the tennis world, to celebrate their bond. Later that year, Bjorn stepped into a new chapter as Madison's coach. He wasn't merely observing from the sidelines. He studied matches with her, offered strength when nerves frayed, and kept her grounded. During her run to the 2025 Australian Open title, he remained a steady force, not loud, but deeply present. Madison never tried to make her romance a public story for tabloids to feast on. To her, love is personal, a safe harbor after grueling matches and endless airport gates. She once reflected, "What matters most is having someone who truly sees you, no need to prove a thing." And that's why Madison holds on to her bond with Bjorn, not for his tennis past, not even his coaching, but because he's the constant soul who shows up, quietly, exactly when she needs him most. Sidelined for being too good, unlike many headline-grabbing athletes, Madison Keys has managed to steer clear of major scandal. She's never delivered outrageous sound bites, sparked internet uproar, or faced public backlash requiring a press apology. Still, that doesn't mean her career has been without drama, but instead of fueling tension, her calm responses usually put out the fire. A standout example happened in early 2025, just after Madison captured the Australian Open title and moved up to world number 7. She had planned to play the ATX Open in Austin, Texas, a modest WTA 250 level event. However, a lesser-known rule stated that only one top 10 player may enter a WTA 250 unless they're the reigning champion. Since Jessica Pegula, then ranked world number 4, had already committed, Madison had to bow out. It wasn't her call, it was the WTA's. Yet what stirred conversation was how baffling the rule seemed. A reigning slam winner at the top of her game couldn't play a hometown tournament because of fine print. Madison stayed quiet on the matter, but the situation left fans dismayed and reignited debate over WTA policy flexibility. Another moment unfolded on court during her 2025 Australian Open semifinal against Iga Swiatek. After Madison drew even by winning the second set, Swiatek headed to the locker room for an extended break. When she returned, she did warm-up drills directly across from Madison, further delaying play. Madison respectfully raised the issue with the chair umpire but clearly looked irritated. Many spectators saw it as a ploy to throw her off rhythm. Madison didn't argue. Instead, she regrouped, played on, and won the match without pointing fingers. Away from matches, Madison has opened up about a quieter controversy few fans recognize: harassment from betting circles. She explained that after losses, especially when she was expected to win, she'd receive harsh criticism or even threats from disappointed gamblers. It wasn't her performance that triggered the anger, but their financial losses. In an interview, she urged fans to remember athletes are people too, and no one should face abuse because they didn't meet someone's bet. Perhaps the most charming headline she's ever made involved a playful exchange with Frances Tiafoe. During an interview, Madison shared how she once teased him, "Every time you text me before a match, I lose." So, during the entire 2025 Australian Open, Tiafoe stayed completely silent, no messages, no calls until she won the title. The tale quickly circulated, capturing the lighthearted camaraderie inside the tennis world. What's clear is that not all scandals stem from missteps. In Madison Keys' case, these stories arose from circumstances beyond her control, and what sets her apart is how she responds with grace, composure, and a steady focus that always speaks loudest through her tennis. On-court success, off-court kindness. Madison Keys has built her legacy not only through her game, but also through her deep community work. Beyond the tennis courts, she invests time and energy into causes she truly believes can uplift young lives. In 2020, she launched a nonprofit called Kindness Wins, centered on promoting kindness as a guiding value in life, not just sports. This isn't some passive foundation with her name on it. Madison takes an active role creating discussion material for teens and building partnerships with fellow athletes to broaden the mission. Kindness Wins operates with 3 guiding pillars, teaching communities about empathy and mental wellness, offering funds to young athletes in need, and connecting pros with teens through shared stories. She has visited high schools and youth camps, speaking openly about her own journey with therapy and burnout. These conversations aren't staged to inspire tears. They're intended to show young people that getting support is a sign of courage. Outside of her own foundation, Madison quietly joins many other efforts that make a difference. She's collaborated with UNICEF USA to promote education, helped fund scholarships back home in Illinois, and supported initiatives around women's health and equality. When racial justice issues shake America's Black communities, Madison adds her voice not with outrage, but with thoughtful clarity. And all of this happens away from the glare of spotlight. She doesn't choreograph her charity work into polished social media posts. Madison avoids playing the part of hero athlete and instead focuses on real presence and purpose. People involved in these efforts say the same thing when Madison shows up. She listens first. By mid-2025, her resume includes over $22 million in prize money, 10 WTA titles, and an Australian Open crown. But none of those numbers mean as much to her as watching a young person rediscover their self-worth. Through her humble, consistent actions, Madison lives with purpose and care. And maybe that's why she's redefining what it means to be a role model, not for being famous, but for using that fame to serve others. Maintaining momentum after glory. After lifting the trophy at the 2025 Australian Open, Madison Keys stepped into a career phase marked by calm and newfound steadiness. She was no longer chasing validation or trying to silence critics at every turn. Today, her tennis comes from a place of joy, motivation, and personal fulfillment. In a candid interview, Madison admitted that therapy helped her redefine success. She now sees worth not through outcomes, but through effort and daily progress. That shift in mindset has become the bedrock of her sustained form since that long-awaited Grand Slam. Madison's strong performance has continued throughout the 2025 calendar. She kicked things off by capturing the Adelaide International title, setting the tone early. She later made impressive runs in multiple high-profile tournaments. At the Madrid Open, she outplayed stars like Coco Gauff and Ons Jabeur to reach the quarterfinals. That performance reaffirmed her standing among the elite in women's tennis. Behind the scenes, she revamped her serving motion to ease stress on her wrist and shoulder. It's a sign she's thinking long-term, preferring endurance over immediate results. She once noted that this change keeps her healthier and mentally sharper during tense matches. As of now, retirement isn't part of her plans. At 30, she's still targeting the slams with goals centered on growth, resilience, and another title if fate allows. Meanwhile, she's ramping up her efforts off the court as well. Her foundation, Kindness Wins, is expanding mental wellness programs across the country. She's teaming up with fellow athletes to spark hope in young lives, rather than preaching. Madison simply shares her path when with setbacks, honesty, and real healing. Looking forward, Madison might no longer be the face of magazine spreads or national campaigns, but within the lines of competition, she's still a serious contender. And far beyond the baseline, she exemplifies grace, empathy, and wisdom. In a fast-paced world of sports, those are the kinds of values that stand the test of time.